Hey guys, what's going on? So in this one, we're going to be covering the Dominion Guild Boss for P5X Global version 2.4. This is week 1 of the Guild Bosses, back on the Guild Boss grind, and taking a look at the special effects. If you didn't guess it just from it being Dominion, this is going to be a Joker special effect and an extra action, crit rate and crit damage increased by 20%. Also, what I believe to be a Futaba-centric special effect, foes damage taken is increased by 6% for each debuff they're inflicted with, up to 30%. Futaba's inflicting lots of debuffs. Party's curse damage is increased by 20% again for Joker, and then just your normal crit formula stuff. But yeah, this is the team we're going to be running here. So I've got Rin 1, Wonder 2, Cord 3, Joker 4 with Futaba as Navigator, and then Wonder is running Ex Machina with Alice, Cert, and then whatever your highest level persona is that you're not using on the other side. For me, I just brought Dominion, but doesn't matter, we're not using them. I basically tried every combination of Rin, Leon, and Cord under the sun to see what gave me the best results, and I think this is like ever so slightly better than Leon Rin. That could just be like some randomness from Cord applying a shock here and there. I don't think like Leon is significantly worse than Cord here. This is the version of the Guild Boss where there's a 2-turn weaken phase, and in this version of the Guild Boss, Cord loses a lot of her value. We've kind of mentioned it in the previous bosses with this effect. She's inherently just like losing value in a fight this short. So Leon, I think, is like equal to, if not like 3 or 4% worse. I don't know. But yeah, so I think if you don't have Cord, I obviously have the slot ins on the screen right now. I think any combination of Rin, Cord, and Leon, like if you're missing one of those and you have 2 of the others, just slot that in and it'll work perfectly fine. But yeah, I've left the slot ins on the screen. If you have any questions, obviously just let me know down in the comments and I'll do my best to give you my recommendation. As for personas, most important persona here is going to be Alice. My Alice has Rebellion and Tarukaja. I'm going to be using both of those skills in this fight. But if you don't have Rebellion and Tarukaja on her, you can make do with like a Komakutsun or whatever. You just are going to lose a little bit off the top of Alice's kind of passive buffing. And then with Cert, we're basically just going to use Marakunda. Something I don't think I've mentioned before, but kind of I realized for the first time last boss cycle, and others had commented as well. In these fights, I call them 4-turn fights, but they're actually 3-turn fights because in most cases, you're finishing the boss before they get their second action. So it's 4 turns for us, but 3 turns for them. So these 3-turn debuffs, like if I use Marakunda on the first action of this fight, it's going to be 4 turns for me. But this will last the entire fight for the enemy because they technically only take 3 turns because they get eliminated before they start their second turn, if that makes sense. As for card sets, my Joker's running Departure and Hindrance. Cord is running Trust and Prosperity. Rin is running Departure and Control. And if your Rin is A0, don't worry about it. We're using the A0 rotation, where we use skill 1 first. And then Futaba's running Resolve and Labor. But yeah, I don't really have a ton else to say on this one. I think it is going to be fairly straightforward. It's kind of a short fight, which is kind of nice, which is like the only thing I like about these weekend phase bosses, I think. Otherwise, I will see you when we get into the fight. All right, so let's get into it here. We're going to start off with skill 1 with Rin. Again, doesn't matter what awareness your Rin is. We're using the A0 rotation. Joker's going to swap to Cert and use Marakunda. And then we're actually going to use Wonder's highlight here. The highlights in the pre-weekend phase were kind of weird on this one just because, like, I don't really know what to use. We're going to actually use Wonder again next time the highlights are up. We're just going to go ahead and use Distortion on the Electric Weak guy, but you can use it on anyone if you want. And then I'm going to use Trickster's Plunder basically the entire pre-weekend phase. Even on the extra turn, because I don't want to kill them too quick, and I know that if I use 4 Trickster's Plunders for my Joker, I will finish them off in 2 turns. So, but if you need to use an Arson's Chains like mixed in on one of those extra actions to get like the bonus damage to make sure you end the turn whenever, that's fine too. Or you can just delay what I'm doing next turn and you need to make this a 5-turn fight. That's perfectly fine as well. And then the Futaba rotation is kind of funny in this because it like goes against basically like everything I had said in the in the build video, where you're really never using skill 2 because of like the weirdness of like the 2-turn weaken phase boss. You actually can use vulnerability found and pen test complete and then use data link established on the last turn. Obviously, if this was like the 6-turn version of the fight, you would just be rotating 1 and 3 because it works out that you get 2 of each. In these fights where the turn orders are kind of weird and like the amount of turns is weird, you're kind of doing like things that you normally wouldn't really be doing. So I'm going to use pen test complete first, but it doesn't matter. You can use skill 1 or 2 first. We're going to use the other one next turn, and then we'll use the skill 3 on the last turn to get the weakness up for like the final damage turn, basically. Rin can go ahead and use her skill 3 now. And then Wonder can swap to Alice and use Rebellion. Again, if you don't have Rebellion on Alice, you can just swap to whoever and use it. And then the highlights are up again, so I'm just going to use it on Wonder. We'll reapply this damage taken up thing, and even though it's only 2 turns, like I said, it will last through the entire rest of the weekend phase because they will not get their action before the weekend phase starts. So Unison notes on Joker with Cord. But I'll go ahead and use Trickster's Plunder again. And then one more Trickster's Plunder should put us into the weaken phase. And don't use, just a reminder, because I kept screwing this up because I wasn't, like, my brain was, like, on autopilot. If you use Futaba's debuffs now on Joker's extra action, you basically just, like, lose a whole turn of it. Because Futaba will use it, then Joker will go, and then they'll immediately lose a turn of it after. Although it doesn't matter as much right now because they're not actually going to go, but I think just on principle, just, like, I'm going to wait till the actual next turn starts, kind of. So now we'll go ahead and use it. And I think you need to use another Joker skill to get to 100% analysis progress anyway. So now if you use skill 1 the first time, use skill 2 here. If you use skill 2 the first time, use skill 1 here. It doesn't matter. I put it on this guy just because he's additionally weak to electric, so I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but they all share damage anyway, so I don't think it matters. But Rin will go ahead and use skill 1. And then Wonder's going to go ahead and use Die for Me with Alice. I'm going to use Distortion on someone else because we'll get, like, ideally if it flicks Shock, we'll get 2 guys with the 10% crit up for the 1 turn, and then this will fall off and it'll be on the other guy, so. And we didn't get it anyway, so it doesn't matter, but that was the idea. If you're wondering why I selected someone else. And then I'm actually going to wait 1 more turn to use the highlight because it doesn't really make much of a difference, and I want it on Joker's extra action. I want it to start, so we just get like an extra action out of the Cord highlight buff. So I will go ahead and use Trickster's Plunder, and then I'll go ahead and use Cord's highlight. We're going to save Futaba, like I said, because if we use it right now, they would get Virus for this attack, and then they would lose it for the entire next turn, so we don't want to do that. But I'll go ahead and use Arson's Chains now. Now we can go ahead and use Data Link Established. We'll use it on Joker. This will buff Joker's attack, and it will give them the extra curse damage taken up. And then we can go ahead and use Rin's skill 3. And then we'll go ahead and use Torakaja. We want to stick on Alice, like I said, for those passive buffs. And we can go ahead and use Catchy Hook on Joker. Get this extra highlight off. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Trickster's Plunder. And then I will use Joker's highlight. I kind of went back and forth on if, like, trying to use the highlight before Joker went was, like, better, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference. And then I'll go ahead and finish this off with Arson's Chains. And I think this is, like, about where I've been every single time. 13-5 or... Yes, this is about what I've been at pretty much every time I've run this. With Leon, without Leon, it's always between 54 and 56. We have a higher awareness Joker in our guild, and obviously the rotation is exactly the same, but the score will just go up because it does much more damage than mine does. But this is the best I could drum up with the A0 Joker. I don't really know what percentage this score is. I imagine it's like 5 maybe. But yeah, I did one run with the better guild Joker, and I shouldn't have because it screws up the percentage score, and I like to show you like where the score is. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if you need to use, Leon instead of Cord here, if you think Cord would fit better with Queen on the other side for you, be my guest. It's just kind of like, it didn't really seem to make a difference, honestly, to me. It seemed like no matter who I swapped in or swapped out, I was kind of getting like the same score regardless. So like I said, if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next one, and have a good